From the maverickstar Observatory. There's going to be a couple of videos coming up later on. We're going to be talking about physics, quantized inertia. There's a guy, if you just want to get familiar with that, on YouTube called Mike McCulloch. It's very interesting. Basically, he's come up with another theory now that sets aside dark matter in our galaxies and our universe. And he's come up with something now to replace that theory. And in principle, although a few of the tests that have been done on this now, it is showing very promising. So as there's a name for you to just look out for in the future of a physicist that is probably going to, become very popular. But the other thing is, interestingly, is if work can be conducted on this brand new theory, it does give us another means of propulsion. Yeah. So basically, you don't need, if you can create this quantized inertia blocking or dampening things, can just rise above the ground, overcoming gravity. They can be moved forward, backwards, left, right. Basically, where you put the damper is the direction of the object it will travel. So yeah, in another way, and I know why he never used the word anti-gravity is because, get a lot of ridicule for it, but it does seem to be, moving in the direction of a real possibility. Now, okay, putting that aside, as you guys know, over the last few weeks I've been making these colloidal silver generators. I've had an order now for 4 out of the 7 that we've got, so that there's 3 left if anyone's interested in them. But what I wanted to do is just show you, the difference between just ordinary distilled deionized water that has gone through a reosmosis process to clean out all the parts per million of there. And I'm going to show you with this TDS meter and EC meter. So what this does is it tests for parts per million in the water, of other things other than water, and also the electrical conductivity of the water. What I wanted to also show those people that have brought colloidal silver generators from me is the quality of the silver that we're using, and really all you should be interested in. I know there is a lot of other data there, is just this. That you can see the symbol AG, which is silver, and the quality is 99.99% purity. And this is the micrograph cross section at 200 times, and you can see, real nice micrograph showing the purity of the steel, or actually the silver in this case. So we use very high quality silver, and we're also using a very unique method of low voltage, low milliamps to really knock off tiny molecules of silver. And I just want to show you how good our generator works. Look at how it has electroplated the plastic wire on there, and if I just rub my finger over that, it should come off. This is just the bubbler pipe, but you can see silver traces, if I come into the dark, all over my finger there. So that shows you, just like a silver paste that's coming off. And the bubbler, what that does is it knocks off those tiny molecules of silver off the rods. As you can see, they're not going black at all, they're just building up dust particles of silver along them. If I just rub my finger, you can see there. That is very fine amounts of silver, and that's what's going into the water. So I wanted to just show you that. Now, I want to just give you a disclaimer. You cannot use a TDS meter, and if you research this on YouTube, you'll see why you can't use a TDS meter to tell you the purity of silver in the water. What you can do is just, use a bit of common sense. I'll switch on the TDS meter. There we go. I'll set it to parts per million on the screen. As you can see, 0. When I put it into the water that's been cleaned through the reosmosis, you'll see, I know it's very difficult because I'm pointing into the light there, you'll see that just on the last digit there's 1, so there's 1 part per million in this water. Right, now I'll switch it over to the conductivity, so we can test now for the conductivity of the water. And what you'll see is that it is at 0.0002. Right, so not very much conductivity, very low you know, impurities in this water, and that's what we start off with. I have used tap water, and tap water has quite a lot of impurities in it. I could go and get you a glass and show you. I think it's about 200 parts per million. But what this generator does, if you use tap water, is it for some reason reduces the parts per million. I don't know why that is. So yeah, you start off with 200 parts per million, you put the silver electrodes in there at the low voltage, and you run the machine, and it even clears up the parts per million in the tap water, and I don't know how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to put the camera down, and then I'm going to show you the water that we've made. So that's our Colloidal silver water. This has been properly running now for about 2 or 3 days. What you will notice is a lot of silver particles in the bottom there, because obviously it's going to fall to the bottom if there's a lot of it in the water, because silver is heavier than the water molecules itself. You can also see the difference in the colour between the two waters. Now it hasn't gone black and the electrodes ain't burned, so the colour of the water is because simply it's got a lot of silver particulates in it. And I'm just going to show you the conductivity now of that water, so just bear with me while I whip the lid off. And I'm going to have to stick it quite low in there so that you can see. So first of all, on this meter we're on electrical conductivity. Remember, this was at 2, and now we're going to put this into the water. Hopefully you can see it. It's at 22 in the water there. So the conductivity is increased, and that's because we've added silver. And I just want to show you the parts per million. So I'll switch the meter over to parts per million, put that into the water, and you can see that the parts per million now has gone up to 13. We know that when we started there was 1 part or 2 parts per million, so we've got an extra 11 parts per million come from somewhere, and that really can only be if we start off with pretty much nothing in the water, and we've now run the generator, and we know that silver clearly is coming off into the water, as we can see. Then it must be silver in the water. So, you know, you can with these generators, like I say, you can tweak them up a little bit. I showed you how to do that the other day, and I wouldn't recommend that because we're at the Holy Grail level with producing really high quality. I mean, look at the clarity, the clearness of that water. It's been ran for 2 days, 3 days nearly, and it's just changed the colour of the water just slightly. And there's no big chunks of silver, and there's no black in the water. So what we're doing here with these generators is perfect. But they're still, and I will give you this, they are still prototypes. I think we can get them even better than what we are. But look at that, silver plating of the plastic wire, because the amount of silver particulates in the actual machine as it's running. So yeah, I just wanted to show you guys and explain a little bit more about this. But I will say this, if you want to find out how much silver is actually in that water, you need to do a more laboratory test on that, and you can find that how that is conducted, you know, on YouTube in a video. But you know, we're just not going to spend the money on those testing kits in order to do it, because I know that they do run up into about £200–300. But you can take it from me that if the plastic wire and this wire has that sort of quality of silver coming off when you just rub the wire, I mean, you can see that glistening. And if I, you know, some mornings here, if I just stir that water or shake it up a little bit and hold it into the sunlight, which you're not really supposed to do with silver, by the way, but you'll see millions and millions of little sparkles in that water. So, you know, we're producing a really good quality colloidal silver. Now, a disclaimer, right? I cannot tell anybody that this is going to be a cure for anything, but if you do your research, you will know that these silver ions kill all viruses. So there you go, and bacteria. And it is used in operations now as a sterilising property. So, you know, it is widely used in these you know, forms. And if you're drinking it and one of these ions do come in contact with the virus, then it quickly steals you know, the electron off the virus, and you know, because they only carry one, you can't survive without it. So you basically kill the virus on contact with the silver. And my theory is this: What you need is for your antibodies in your body to recognise that there's a foreign enemy in there, is for a lot of these dead ones to turn up. Now, if you're drinking colloidal silver, it will come into contact at some point. If you come into an environment of COVID-19, it will kill it. Yeah, and if you've got a dead copy of the virus in your body, your immune system can quickly deal with a dead one better than what it can a live one. And if it's got lots of dead ones in your system, you are going to build up an immune system. Your immune system is going to recognise a dead one much quicker. So I'm not giving nobody any hope of curing COVID-19 with this, or avoiding catching it. We are simply taking it as a precaution, me and my wife, and I dare say those people that have already brought a colloidal generator off us are doing the same thing. But I will say this: if you purchase one of these off us, and I don't mind making a few of these. I don't want to be making these up every day. I don't mind making these up for a few people every week. If it's just to raise a little bit extra cash for the observatory, I don't mind doing that. I've sort of like lost the train of thought what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't mind making a few of them up. But yeah, that's where I was going. If you look at how much 100 grams of colloidal silver costs, I've done a little bit of research on it. You can pay up to about £10 sterling, up to £20 sterling for just 100 grams, and you can see we've nearly got a litre there that we've made ourselves. And there's no different from our silver colloidal than to one that you can buy. It is exactly the same. So these machines do pay for themselves in a very short space of time. Anyhow, well, there's 3 more if anyone wants them, and if there is more orders than 3, we will get round to doing it. I've got an order for 4, like I say, at the moment. They will be being assembled, not tomorrow. I'm hoping to get the delivery of the DC-DC boosters, which is the electronics inside the box here. As soon as I get those, I can build up the 4 and get them sent out. So hopefully by the end of next week, they will be in the post to those people that have ordered them. If you're interested in a colloidal silver generator and you're in the States, it's £95 sterling. That includes your postage and packaging. If you're in the UK, it's £85. Simply because sending it abroad is a little bit more dear, and I do try and record the delivery for the ones that go into the United States as well. So yeah, if you're interested, I don't mind building you one of those. Later on, like I say, I want to talk about that quantized inertia, because it's obviously of interest to me, because somebody has proposed working analogy of a form of anti-gravity. So tune in later on for that video as well. Don't know what's happening tomorrow. I'm trying to think of something to do because it's my birthday. I want to do something special, but it's a little bit difficult to do so in a lockdown situation that pretty much all of us are facing. But what I'd really like to do, I don't know what the weather forecast is going to be like. I'd just like to go and have a chip butty or chips on a bread and butter sandwich somewhere on the side of a harbour. I don't know why I crave those. There's that sort of thing now and then, but I do. Anyhow, so hopefully you're a little bit more, clued up on colloidal silver, how it's made, how to produce it yourself. I will put the schematics on there as well for those of you that haven't got £100 to spend on one of these and want to build one yourself. I'll do that for you as well, and I'll also put the STL file so you can 3D print these lids off as well for yourselves at a later date. I'll do that, that's no problem. But yeah, guys, I hope you found it interesting. And one other thing we've now got, because another thing what we've been doing, I use this, by the way. I just plug this onto my vacuum cleaner, leave the vacuum on in each room for about 5 minutes, and it filters a large volume of cubic meters of air through it. And this is, as you know, a biological warfare mask filter that you clip on. It's a PR3 rating, and yeah, it definitely filter out COVID-19. And like I say, I just drop that onto the vacuum. That's another STL file I'm going to put out there for you, because it's got a unique thread. These have 40mm thread, but trust me, there's lots of different 40mm threads, and I had to print off about 7 of these to get the right one what we wanted. So yeah, it's another SDR file that'll put on there, and you can use that as well, free of charge, guys. And the other thing we're building, as you know, is a face mask which is positively charged with air, and we tried the CPU fans, if you remember. That's where we were on the prototype with this. Here we've got a CPU fan off a computer which wasn't strong enough to push the air out of the pipe here, so it draws it in through that filter and then pumps it out of this air, which we've got now, the Flexios that's been delivered for that, and that goes through the face visor and provides a positive airflow. Because what we're trying to do here is overcome social distancing. You know, there are some jobs where people have got no choice but to be in a vicinity next to somebody who could quite have that, you know, possibly that COVID-19. So if we can provide something which is lightweight, comfortable to wear, you know, and protects the environment that you're in when you're not social distancing, then that's another step forward to getting, you know, things back online, and that's really what we want to do. So yeah, you know, what we've got now is a radial fan, and we've tested this up against the filter housing, and it seems to blow, you know, a nice amount of air, which I think is more than sufficient for the face visors. So we're going to do a 3D print which incorporates the radial fan onto some you know, form of housing, which allows us to screw that then to the filter, and then all we need to do is 3D print you know, at the back of it somewhere for a battery to go, and you know, and a little buzzer, so that when it runs down to a certain amount of milliamps, you know, it warns the person that their battery's about to conk out on them, and they'll need to replace it or recharge it. So that's what we've been up to over the last few weeks. And yeah, you know, prototyping these things is slow, steady work, but you know, it is great that we've got that 3D printer now and we're able to do these sorts of things, because it's pretty much down to, you know, my imagination and, you know, the skills that we've got, and we've got quite a good skill base now. I mean, I'm good with electronics, I'm good at programming electronics, I'm good now using the CAD program to design and develop these things, so we've got, you know, a real good selection of skills that we can apply to different ideas, and that's where we're moving forward at a good rate. The other thing that's on the back burner, which I have not given up, but I know Carl Bashir is really interested and keen to see it finished, and Carl, I do understand your frustration, but you know, when we've got a lot of projects on the go, like building muon detectors and other things like that, you know, something always gets pushed back, and unfairly it's the cloud chamber. I want to get back on track with that. I have been doing some work with the 3D printer, holding the Peltier element array together, and then once I've got that figured out, it's just a matter of putting the viewer screen on there, building the rest of the base housing for the you know, the electronic components like the power packs and water tanks, water filtration and the pumps and all that, and we're away. But yeah, things are moving forward. Can't help the fact that COVID-19 come up and threw a few spanners in the works for us here at the observatory. We have suffered as a result of that, you know, less funding than what we usually get, but you know, it's life, isn't it? So I'm going to leave the video here. You have a great day. Hopefully I'll drop another video which is more in line with the physics and science and stuff on quantised inertia. And yeah, if you want to look up Mike McCulloch on YouTube, he explains it very well. And you know, we're just going to talk on that subject because of the interest that we've got there. So yeah, have a great day, guys, and hopefully I'll catch up with you a bit later. There's a link down there if you want to help support us, or if you want one of these generators, then, you know, feel free. Just drop the money in the PayPal link and a little note with your address on it, and I'll get one built up for you. Okay, have a good time, as always. Bye for now.